So what did it cost to set up this nano tank? Today we're going to find out. What's up Reefers, my name is Chris and you're watching the Nano Tank Reefer YouTube channel. If you haven't already and you're enjoying the content, please do like, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you're not missing out on any of my new content. Today we're going to talk about money and how much it cost me to set up this nano tank. I want to go ahead and say that this isn't a budget build. It wasn't intending to be a budget build. I've gone for the best equipment that I can afford on this tank because I want reliability. I've gone through enough cheap equipment in the past to know that buying cheap isn't always the best option. If you're new to reefing and that's the way you want to go, by all means, that's how I started out on reefing. But past experience has shown that the equipment doesn't last. You get 6-12 months out of it. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that this isn't a budget build and the price reflects it. That being said, let's see how much this tank costs to set up. All right, let's get straight into it. I've got everything written down here, so if you see me looking away and you can hear it rustling, I do apologise, but I don't have an auto cue system, so it's as good as you're gonna get. Right, the tank itself is an innovative marine Nuvo 20. It's the Nuvo 20 Pro. It's an all-in-one system. All-in-one systems don't have sumps down below, they have back chambers. It comes with the tank itself, which is a 20-gallon reef tank. It comes with the cover, it comes with a media caddy, it comes with a filter sock, and it comes with a pump. Most of it I don't use. I use the tank, obviously. I use the cover and I use the pump. The cover's great, fits perfectly. You get a little bit of salt creep building up on the top, but it's not the end of the world. As I say, the media caddy I don't use, the filter sock I don't use, and the pump I do use. The pump is the Mighty Jet 329 gallon per hour. I think it's either the 329, they do two models, one's a higher model, one's a lower model. This one comes with the lower model because it's a smaller tank. I think if you get the Nuvo 25 and bigger, it comes with a bigger pump. The tank and everything cost me $299.95, and to be honest I think it's quite a good deal. I mean, if you were to buy a light and if you were to buy a heater, sand and rock, you can pretty much run the tank out of the box. It comes with pretty much everything you need, which is great. So I thought that was a good deal. The light I bought second hand. It's an Ecotech Radion XR15 Gen 4 with mount and with diffuser. I bought it second hand because they had just released the Gen 5s. Everyone was selling their Gen 4s and people were selling them at pretty good prices. So I paid all in for, no I didn't, I paid £275 all in for the light, the mount and the diffuser. It's a great light for this little tank. I only run it at about 25% and I'm using the AB Plus schedule. The skimmer. Okay, the skimmer, you don't actually need a skimmer for this tank. I'm only using a skimmer on this tank because I don't want to do water changes. End goal on this tank is to go water changeless. Ooh. I am currently doing water changes on this tank, but the plan is eventually not to do any water changes on this tank. So yeah, the skimmer, it's an innovative marine Nuvo Skim desktop. It cost me $149.95. It is the only skimmer we can get in the UK that fits this tank. If you're in the US, there are a few options. You've got, I think eShops do a nano skimmer. I think IceCap do a nano skimmer, but without importing them, we actually can't get them in the UK. So the only option in the UK that fits this tank is the innovative marine Nuvo Skim desktop. And to be honest, it's actually a really good skimmer. I don't think it's worth $149.95, but it is a good skimmer and it's the only skimmer I could get for this tank. And it's the way I wanted to go with regards to keeping nutrients down. I mean, there's a low bio load in this tank. There's only 3 fish in this tank. I think there's 2 clowns and a wrasse. And to be honest, if I was keeping up with water changes, I wouldn't need a skimmer for this tank. It's only because of the fact that I want to go maintenance free or as little maintenance as possible on this tank that I've gone for the skimmer. So that's the skimmer. ATO, which is auto top off. I've gone for the D&D optical auto top off. I previously used a float switch on this tank and it used to clog up. So I went for the optical D&D optical sensor and it was $69.99 and it does the job and it does the job well. It doesn't need to be cleaned that often. and it just works flawlessly. It does what it's intended to do. Heater and heater controller. Okay, with this sort of system, you can buy a standard glass heater with a thermostat built in. I've gone for the other method, which is using a titanium heater, which is a D&D 200 watt titanium heater coupled with a D&D temperature controller. As I say, you can buy a standard glass heater with a thermostat and it will do the job. I find that I get a better, more consistent temperature if I'm using a temperature controller. Hence I've gone for the temperature controller on this. The heater was $44.89 and the controller was $46.99. Wavemaker, I have gone for the TMC Reef 4000S. It is a controllable wavemaker, 4,000 litres per hour, and I went for it because of the form factor. I was in two minds which way to go with this tank. I was never going to buy a Jabo pump because I've had them last not very long, especially the smaller models. So it was either TMC with the Reef Tide S or the MP10. I could have bought a second-hand MP10 for the same, pretty much the same cost as this one, which this one cost me $89.99. But I decided to go for the TMC, mainly because it's not only small inside the tank, but it's actually small outside the tank. So there's no big bulky bit inside or outside. Both parts are very small, and it was mainly the form factor that sold it to me. So that's why I went for the TMC Reef Tide 4000S. Doser. The doser on this tank is completely unnecessary if you are keeping up with your regular maintenance and water changes. I've only gone for a doser, and this specific doser, because one, I'm going to try and do no water changes on this tank, and two, because I already had the doser spare. When I say I had it spare, I'll tell you what the doser is first. It's a GHL 2.1 slave doser. I had it on my 250 when I was running Red Sea. I was running the full Red Sea program, which included foundation, alkalinity, magnesium, and calcium, and also the trace elements as well, which is A, B, C, and D of trace elements. So I needed 7 dosing heads to fully go automated on the Red Sea program on my 250. It wasn't until I switched to Aquaforest that the trace elements are included in part 1, 2, and 3 with Aquaforest. So I went from needing 7 heads to needing 3 heads. So I had a GHL 2.1 slave doser spare. Rather than sell it, I thought I'll use it on another tank because the second-hand market for high-end equipment isn't the best. I mean, it cost me $490.98 brand new. I could have probably got half the cost if I was to sell it. I thought it's a bloody good doser, and to be honest, the reliability is there. I might as well use it on this tank. Rock, sand, and media. The rock, I've gone for D&D Aquascape rock. I used 4 kilos and it cost me £25. Sand, I went for 10 pounds of Carib Sea Fiji pink reef sand. I think I used 3/4 of the bag, so it's around 7.5 pounds of sand. That cost me $17.99, and I've got 1 kilo of max spec biospheres in the back chamber of this tank. The biospheres cost me £20. Accessories. In the 2 chambers, one either side, I run 2 filter floss caddies. They were around £10 each. I got them from a mate of mine, Ben Reefmine. I think I mentioned him in every single one of my videos. He owns DB Designs, I think it's called. They're on Instagram, and it's his own 3D printing company. So that's where I got my filter floss caddies from. He also did me a media caddy for the 1 kilo of max spec biospheres that I use. Other accessories, you've got the flipper cleaner here. That was £27. I don't know if I mentioned the price of the media caddy. I think it was about £15. And then going on to random flow generators. I'm running 2 random flow generators on this tank. They needed 2 drop-down adapters. They were £10 each, so that's £20 in total. And the random flow generators themselves, in the UK, we pay an absolute premium for VCA random flow generators. I think they were £25 each. I think they're 3/4 inch, or they're either 3/4 inch or 1 inch random flow generators. If you are in the US, you won't pay anywhere near the premium that we are paying for VCA random flow generators. It's only because we import them from the States that they cost so much to buy over here. So yeah, that's the accessories. Let's move on to filling the tank. water, I didn't buy the water for this tank, I mixed the water myself, but if you were to buy the water, you'd be looking at around £10 to get, I think it's about, with displacement in this tank, it's about 50 litres of water, so that cost about £10 from my local fish shop. Fish, as I say, there's 3 fish in here, a pair of Da Vinci clowns, which I think cost me £89, and an ornate leopard wrasse, which was about £30. One thing I've not covered in great depth in this video is test kits. Test kits are, you can go for expensive test kits, you can go for cheap test kits. When I started out in reefing, I just bought saltwater test kits, and to be honest, for the money you spend on them, they are really accurate. I mean, I've used Red Sea Pro test kits that are less accurate than a saltwater test kit. So I think if you were to spend £100 on test kits for the saltwater test kits, you could probably get the full range of saltwater test kits for £100. So I've just added £100 onto this total for test kits. I mean, I'm actually using Hannah test kits, and I haven't factored that into the cost because I bought the Hannah test kits for my 250. I wouldn't have bought Hannah test kits just for this little tank, so I've just factored in £100 for test kits. Now we get to the end result. How much did it cost to set up this reef tank? I was a little bit blown away as to how much I have spent on this tank. Bear in mind that I didn't spend this all in once. I didn't just go out with my card and say, look, I want this. I bought this all over time, so I already had the light, already had the tank. The tank was set up on in a whole different scape. I only probably spent about £500 to set this tank back up. The grand total for this tank, if you were to buy everything that I've bought and fill this tank, one thing I haven't covered is corals. I won't cover corals because most of them were taken out of my my 250. Anyway, I'm stalling. The grand total for this tank is £1,820.73. Do I think that's a reasonable cost to set up a nano tank? Absolutely not. I think it's ridiculous. You can set up a tank like this for probably half the cost. Probably less than half the cost. If you were to be smart, buy half decent equipment, buy second-hand equipment, you could probably do it for maybe a third of the cost, just over a third, between a third and half the cost. But that's how much I spent on it. Let's hope my missus isn't watching this video, because she's gonna, you'll know she's watched it because I won't be doing the video next week. I'll have 2 black eyes. But yeah, that's how much I spent on this reef tank. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the video, please do drop it a like, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a cracking week, and I'll see you next week.